Hey, it's Paul here again, and in this video we're going to discuss whether and if Medicaid's 5-year look-back period will be extended to 7 years, 10 years, or perhaps something else. Okay, so the big picture is there are many in America's middle class these days that are worried that they'll lose all of their life savings if in the future they need long-term care in a nursing home. So I'm asked often, hey Paul, when are they gonna change that law and extend the 5-year look-back period to 7 years? I guess I'm asked that often because over the years, people have seen this look-back period, or the period within which you are penalized for having moved assets out of your name. People have seen it change every few years. You know, when I first started as an estate planning lawyer 29 years ago, if my memory serves me right, this penalty period, or you couldn't qualify for Medicaid if you had made any transfers out of your name within the previous 2 years. And then sometime after that, that period, it was 24 months. That period got extended to 30 months or 2.5 years. And then years after that, Congress changed the law to penalize people who had made transfers in the previous 3 years or 36 months. And then a few years later, they extended the penalty period for transfers to trusts, so that at that time, if you had made transfers to individuals, the penalty period was 3 years. If you had made transfers to trusts, the penalty period was 5 years. And then on February 8th of 2006, Congress changed the law again and said, well, for all transfers, even transfers to individuals, you're going to be penalized and ineligible for Medicaid if you had made transfers or gifts, or what Medicaid calls uncompensated transfers, in the period with that started 5 years before you went into a nursing home and applied for Medicaid. So the problem with the government paying for so many people's nursing home care is that, you know, America's population is aging. Americans are living longer. It's great that medicine is doing some great things to enable people to live longer, but it's causing people to need long-term care for a longer period of time. So it's essentially, whenever somebody goes into a nursing home, really it's the government, which is essentially the taxpayers. Whenever someone goes into a nursing home and successfully qualifies for Medicaid, the government, us taxpayers, essentially are saying, okay, we're going to pay $100,000 a year, or whatever the amount might be, for this person as long as they're in this nursing home. And with so many people going into nursing homes, and with so many people staying in there for years — my grandmother was in a nursing home for 20 years on Medicaid — that gets really, really expensive. And then, you know, it's a strain on our nation and on our individual states' budgets. And then, you know, laws get changed. In fact, it's so expensive that insurance companies, who in the past have provided insurance to cover these long-term care expenses, many of the insurance companies have stopped insuring against that expense, or they've so modified their policies or so increased the premiums to make it just very difficult for people to insure against, you know, all of their future long-term care expenses. So with that being said, not a lot of written and said about it, but you know, what's the government going to do next? Well, it's likely, and I can't believe they haven't made a move since February 8th of 2006. That's more than 14 years ago. So I got to think, and I have no inside knowledge, but I got to think that, you know, the easy thing for the government to do is to make it harder for people to kind of protect their assets, relieve the taxpayers of the United States of the burden of paying for everybody's long-term care. I got to think the next steps are to extend the penalty period again. Go from 5 years maybe to 7 years, or from 5 years maybe to 10 years. And I've seen some people say, well, they can't do that because people people and organizations don't keep records for that long. So, well, my response to that is they could do it. And I'm sure when the penalty period was 2 years, nobody envisioned that the penalty period would be 5 years. But here it's been 5 years for 14 years. And so probably no big deal to go from 5 years to 7 years or 5 years to 10 years. Now, the way Medicaid works, when somebody goes into a nursing home and they apply for Medicaid or their family applies on their behalf for them, it's a voluntary application process. It's a long application, and so the family's got to fill out all the information on what do you have, what are your assets, what's your income, what have you done with your assets over the last 5 years, and it goes on and on and on. And then the Medicaid applicant or their family or their power of attorney or whatever signs off on giving the government permission to verify the information that was voluntarily supplied in the application. So whenever someone applies for Medicaid, they voluntarily give the government the permission to check all of the individual's financial institution records, tax records, property records. So the government can oversee all of that. So I don't see an obstacle, that the government would have to making that 5-year period a 7-year period or a 10-year period. In fact, I could see the day when the government might say, well, if the Medicaid applicant had made any transfers in the past, they're ineligible for Medicaid. And so that would be a real kicker, and that would make it really hard for people to protect what they have. What kind of effect would that have if the government said if you'd made any transfers of your property during your lifetime or of your money to others, you're not going to be eligible for Medicaid? Well, to the wealthy, that would mean nothing because they don't need Medicaid. They can give their assets away and do give their assets away, but they retain enough for their needs. But for the middle class, it might restrict that middle class person from maybe giving some money to their child so that the child can put a down payment on a home, or it might prevent a grandparent from giving some money to their grandchild to help pay for their grandchild's education. If the parent or the grandparent realizes, hey, if I do that and I go into a nursing home, I'm stuck, I won't qualify for Medicaid and I may run out of money, so I'm really going to be in a pickle. So we'll see what happens in the future. And I will say, though, that when it changed February 8th, 2006, when it changed from this 3-year look-back period to the 5-year look-back period, we got no warning. I was knee-deep in kind of the business of help. People were asking me all day, every day, Paul, what can I do to protect my assets? I don't want to lose my home. I would like to leave an inheritance to my kids. What can I do? What can I do? And so we got no warning. And so when it changed from 3 years to 5 years, and really every time they changed it, they would, I'll call it grandfather, the transactions that took place prior to the date that the law changed. So when the law changed on February 8th, 2006, if someone had, from 3 years to 5 years, and someone had made some transfers on January 8th of 2006, that transfer would have been subject to the 3-year penalty period, but any transfers after the date of the law change, that would have been subject to the 5-year period. So as we go from 5 to 7, 5 to 10, if same thing's likely going to happen. So this is something that, if this is something that you're losing sleep over, you may want to go into, and look into, taking some action so that you do protect what you have in a comfortable way so that you still maintain the controls over what you have. You better assure yourself on your family that you're not going to lose everything if you get sick. So it may be the time to start taking a look at that kind of thing. So again, this video falls on the heels of the, video I'll link you to up above about the ethics of Medicaid planning. Hope that helps. I'd like to see your comments below as to what you think the government can or should do about this escalating problem of America getting older, needing long-term care, and our government, which is essentially our taxpayers, having to foot that bill for something like roughly 60 or 70% of the people who are in nursing homes. They've qualified for Medicaid. The others are private pay. What do you think our system should look like? I'd love to hear what you say, what you think, what you hear. Post it in the comments below. By the way, smash the like button if you haven't already subscribed. Click the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss anything. I'm Paul Rabalais. We'll see you next time.